Welcome to my next automation. I got a killer one for you today. Today, I will be showing you how we can create an automation to see exactly how AI compares you to your competitors and how AI recommends your business to your potential customers. I'm telling you, AI search is where it's at in the future. Just listen to some of these statistics. Gartner predicts by 2026, traditional search engine volume will drop 25%, with search marketing losing market share to AI chatbots and other virtual agents. Dharmesh Shah, founder and CTO of HubSpot, says, "The truth is, in 2025, product recommendations aren't just coming from review sites or social proof anymore. A whole new frontier is emerging, how ChatGPT compares and recommends brands when potential customers ask, should I buy X or Y?" So this is what's happening now, and this is what's going to continue to happen in our future. So the automation that we're creating today makes everything so much more exciting because we are staying ahead of the curve with this one. Let me show you the end product that this automation creates so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. What we're looking at right here is an AI competitive analysis report that a Make Automation has created for us. We have our target buyer persona, our input. Who do we think our persona is? Products and services. What are my products and services? Well, this is what I think they are. This is what AI thinks they are. That's what our What Perplexity Sees column is. And then you can compare it. Wait, am I actually positioning myself correctly on the web if this is what the AI is seeing? Probably not. Scrolling down to this section, the top 3 AI searched company recommendations for your persona. This is where it will show you companies that it recommends to your persona, the top 3 of them. And you might not be one, which might mean you have some work to do. And this is the juiciest part of the report, one of my favorite part of the report, how AI compares your business to the top search result. So if you're not coming up as the top search result that AI recommends to your persona, somebody else is. And this section is going to tell you what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are and what their strengths are and what their weaknesses are. So you can use this report for yourself. You can use this report for a client. You could send these out on a weekly basis. You could send these out on a monthly basis. I mean, it's perfect use case for it. And if someone is challenging, like, well, where does all this information come from? Well, there's citations right there in the document because Perplexity gives citations in their API now, so we can pull those as well. Okay, I hope you're as excited about getting this report automated as I am. My name is Kelly. I have a school called the AI Marketing Automation Lab. My school is about 3 things: automation that transforms, the power of community, and always staying ahead of the competition. I absolutely love giving tutorials on YouTube, and in our school, we're even more hands-on. So please check us out, the AI Marketing Automation Lab. Now we're going to jump in and get this going. But before we do that, like and subscribe. Here we go. Okay, first we're going to build out our Airtable. It's pretty straightforward, this Airtable. It's just going to contain the input fields. The first field we need here is a URL field, and we're going to call this your business. Save that. The second field is a single line text field called business name. The third field is a long text field, and we're calling this our ideal client profile. Save that right there. And moving on, this field is going to be a long text field called our products/services. And we're going to insert a last modified time field right here. Save that. And then we'll come back to this fire off webhook field after we do something in our automation first. So the first thing you're going to have to do is work with this webhook right here. Go ahead and open it and create a webhook. And you're going to want to copy that address right there. Copy that to your clipboard. And now we're going to go back into our Airtable. That didn't take long, did it? And in this field, you're going to be creating a button field. And we're calling it Fire Webhook. So when you open this up, that'll be empty. So I'm just deleting it for you to see that here. And here's a little trick inside of Airtable that you can use. If you want to generate a formula, you can just type in right here, fire off this web hook with the record ID, and then you paste that in, and then hit generate, and AI will come up with the formula that you need. So this formula, you just pop that in there, and also in here, you want to call this run comparison, and then you can have things color-coded. Mine's color-coded in solid red. And that allows you to fire off the webhook without having a paid version of Airtable. Okay, once that is in, we're going to go back to our make automation. We're going to come over here back to the webhook, and we're going to click right on this and say, run this module only. Now we're going to come back in here and put some information in. At least the first and second fields right here, your business and business name. So I put in our AI Marketing Automation Lab URL, and then we're going to click this run comparison. Now you'll get this message, and this is accepted. And now when we go back to our automation here, you'll see that it is actually accepted underneath this bundle 1 record ID. So you want to copy that record ID that we just found there, hang on to that for a bit, and we're going to make a connection to the Airtable. So the second module we want to add is get a record Airtable. So here we have it connected to our training base, and you're probably going to have to go through an OAuth process. And then after that, you're going to want to connect it to table 1. You're going to pick record ID from the webhook. Once you have that set up, we're going to right click on this module, and we're going to say run this module only. And remember what we copy and pasted earlier? We're going to paste that right there and hit OK. Now this module has pulled in information from the Airtable, which is going to allow us to populate the rest of the system here. So you're going to connect your router, and where I like to put here is a little filter, which checks to make sure that there is data inside each one of those fields in the Airtable. Under these conditions, I like to map them out. So we want to know your business, and then we want to know our ideal client profile, and then we also have a column for our products and services. And the basic operator for each one of those is that it exists. So it's testing it to make sure that they all exist before it actually passes the information along this way. And that prevents make from shutting down. So if you were to fire off a webhook and there's no data for it, it's not going to run. So let's take a look and an overview, just a quick overview about what's happening here on this dinosaur looking automation. Let's look at the top. It's a pretty simple automation. There's a lot of pieces to it, but it's really not that complex in any sense. It's just assigning and pulling variables that are going to be put into a document at the end of the automation. But the top half of this router run is actually where everything gets done. And the bottom router run is where it's pulling all the variables and reformatting them to make everything look nice for the output in this final Google Doc. So we're going to build the top half first. Now, something important here is that the branch that you're building in the top, this Perplexity research branch that we'll be building, we want to make sure that this is the first branch. You'll notice that we say first here and second here. And that must be the case because we're assigning variables in the top and we're pulling those variables in the second part of it. So we want the top to run before the bottom, and they have to be assigned each in the way that we call them. So the first module here is going to identify our persona, and for this we will be using Perplexity. So the model that we're using inside of Perplexity is going to be Llama Sonar Large. And you can take a screenshot of this if you're building it out. So look at this business URL and describe only their target customer. Do not mention the company name or URL. Keep the response to 20 words. And here is the field we're pulling in from the Airtable, your business. All right, we're going to add another Perplexity module here, a create chat completion, just like the first one. And this is what we're going to say. This time we want to look at your business URL and describe only what they sell. So you get the business URL right there. And the next Perplexity module, same as the ones before it, a create a chat completion. And this one is the one that will be doing a search and coming up with a recommendation. And it's not using the company name or the company URL, but it's using the ideal client profile and the products and services. So it's saying, I am so-and-so and I'm looking for X and Y. Again, you can take a screenshot of this prompt. Let me open that up for you. You could throw it in any AI and it'll turn it into text for you, and you could put it in here. Again, in here, pulling from the Airtable, we have our ideal client profile, and then we have the products and services that we want to inside the content portion here. And make sure you click save before leaving that. And if you haven't and you're in the middle of building this, click save right now. It's very important to save on make because it does not save automatically. And grabbing the citations can be a little tricky, we have to put a router in. So right after that last Perplexity module, we're going to insert a router. And on this side, we are putting in a text aggregator. So this is a built-in tool inside of Make. Just look for the text aggregator underneath the sources. And the sources, who do you recommend, are basically coming from this source over here. Then you put citations in here underneath that. Notice how that was bumping, and that's how you know you have the right one. After this text aggregator, we're going to add in another, and this will be a set variable module. So you're going to put it in set variable, and here it will be getting the citations. So the variable name is going to be citations. That's something that you type in. And the variable, which it's going to grab from the previous module before it, is text. We also should rename this to get citations instead of get the recommendation. Get citation. Okay, that's the end of that branch. So we have the top done. Now we're going to set a variable. We need to grab the actual output this time. And that will be the output from this Perplexity module right here. So the variable name is AI recommendations, and we're pulling choices and content from what do you recommend. So you go down to choices, message, content. That's what we're going to put in here. Save that. Next, we are asking Perplexity to identify its number one choice out of the recommendations that it gave to us. So we want to do this because we want to have a comparison between number one and the business that we actually inputted in here. Now, we have a router here because in some cases, the number one recommendation might be the same as the company that you inputted. So in that case, we're going to have a filter here. I'm just calling it is number one. So the condition is if the content that is coming from who is number one contains the business name that was inputted into the Airtable, then we're going to take this route. So this Perplexity module, if the business you inputted is number one, then it is now comparing it to the number two business. And take a screenshot here of this text and this prompt so you can use it as is for this comparison that's being made. So the your business right here, this comes way back to our first Airtable module, the get record. And the second right here, choices and messages content, we're pulling from the who do you recommend Perplexity create a chat completion module. All right, go ahead and click OK. Then we have a set multiple variables here. Now it's very important that this is set multiple variables and not just variables. It must be multiple. So clicking into here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items that we need. So here we're calling this one the Perplexity persona, and it's coming from our identify persona create a chat completion. So we're going to click choices, go down to message, and then hit content. Next, Perplexity product and services. We're going to look for that module. Got it, identify product and service. So we are going to choices, same thing as before, messages and content. Boom. Now, recommended suppliers. It's coming from who do you recommend, choices, message, content. Boom. And another one. All right, on to 4. This one we call our top recommendation. And that's coming from who is number one, that ChatGPT module. Same thing as before. You already know. And for the last one, this is our final step, competitor comparison, where number one compares to number 2. Create a chat completion. So just pop down that choices, message, and content once again. One final time and hit OK. Now we're going to build out this other path right here. So now in this path, we have a filter here that says not number one. So if the company that you inputted is not the number one company recommended, then it's going to go down this path that we're about to create. So here we're looking for who is number one, and then we're comparing it to the business name. And if number one doesn't contain the business name, then it will go down this path. Okay, so you can copy over the other Perplexity module up here, and you can move that down here onto this path. But we're going to notice that the content is going to be slightly different. Now we're comparing it to the brand. And the second brand is going to be this one, pulled out instead of number 2. It's going to be the number 1 from here. Now click OK. Next, we're going to need another tools module, set multiple variables, and you could clone the one from the top and just bring it down to the bottom run that we're building out right now. That way you don't have to go through items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all over again. But we do need to make a change. The thing that we're going to change is the competitor comparison. So we're going to click in here, and we want the outcome to pull from the competitor comparison module. Okay. Click save if you haven't already. Definitely a good time to save. Okay, look at that. So we already took care of like the top half of the dinosaur and then some. So now we just have this bottom part of the dinosaur. So we're going to collect all the variables and we're going to build it out in that bottom branch right there. So the first thing we're going to do is insert a tool module called Get Multiple Variables. Once again, we love that one. And here's where you're going to want to map your variable names from before. So we have the Perplexity persona, Perplexity product service, AI recommendations, top recommendation, competitor comparison, and citations. And we're going to insert an update a record Airtable module here, calling it post the results to Airtable. And then we want to map the fields to the right, pulling them from the gather all the results module above. And then you want to select the record ID from the webhook, that initial webhook that we set up. Ready? Hit OK. We got a lot of stuff from Perplexity. It's getting sent to our Airtable. It's getting outputted. So we're going to call it in with a markdown. And our final printed document, we need to be legible and we want it to look great for you, for your client. So adding these markdown to HTML modules will help with that. So the main thing that I really need to fix is the AI recommendations. Select AI recommendations from the variables. Now remember, you're taking this from gathering the variables. Now the second markdown to HTML we put in for competitor comparison. And we're pulling that from gather all results, get multiple variables. Click OK. So we're putting in another tool called a text parser, HTML to text. And this is the one that is going to work on the recommendations. So we're taking that from the markdown, the HTML, and we're hitting OK. Next is the comparison, and we're doing the same thing like we did just to the previous one. We're taking that from the comparison markdown and putting it right in there. And the final step is the Google Doc, where all of this will plop into. So before we do this, you're going to want to make sure that you have a Google Doc template set up to capture all the variables because they'll be populated in here. Double squiggly brackets galore. So if I zoom in like here, to what Perplexity sees is Perplexity persona and Perplexity product. Then here we have recommendations, recommendations to buyer. The way it recognizes it as a field in a Google Doc is the name is in all caps, and it's encased in double squiggly brackets. So you're going to have to use those in order for the variables to populate. And you could lay this out any way you want. So once you have that laid out, any way that you want, you can come back into your Make automation, and we're going to insert a Google Doc module, create a document from a template. Click in here to open it up. You're going to have to make a connection with your Google Drive, showing it exactly where the template is. And we called ours a competitor analysis template. Now, when you click into your Google Doc module, these fields are going to be empty. So you're going to have to go ahead and fill them out. So we're pulling this from business name, created date and time, and input persona are all coming from the post the results to Airtable module. Now Perplexity persona, we're going to take that right from the gather all the results, get multiple variables tool. And then input product, our products and services, that comes from the Airtable record post results into Airtable, just like the first three. So Perplexity product, this is what Perplexity sees as your products and or services, and we're pulling that from gather all results, Perplexity product and service right here. And now we have recommendations to buyer. So this is coming from a long section of text, and we're taking that from the first HTML to text module. So it'll be nicely formatted, and comparison, that we're doing the same thing, but that's from the second text parser module. And last but not least, when you get down here, you can decide how you want to title the document. The way I title them so that they have unique titles is I put the business name and then the created time. That way they're all unique. And then here you tell it where you want it to place the final document that it puts together. So I have my drive selected, and then I have the specific location where I'd like it to go, or I could pick another one and then select OK. And now make sure you save. Whew, okay, so that was a bit of a dinosaur, but I mean, it wasn't that bad. And the report, I mean, everything that you get out of that is just so worth the build. I hope you agree with me. Thank you for taking the time to build alongside me today. Next one will be just as great. If you've made it this far and you like what you saw, please like and subscribe. It helps and I appreciate you. My name is Kelly, and I'll see you on the next one.